Sudbury News Talk.
I want to show you something.
Stand by. On the morning shift.
Anything
could happen.
Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.
All right, good morning. Welcome to Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift. I'm AJ Walsh. I'm glad to be here with you on Sudbury News and Views right here on CKLU 96.7 FM on the radio. Also streaming live at cklu.ca. You can catch us anytime. You just go on cklu.ca and you stream us by clicking on the Radio Player Canada app. You are, if you've been with us for a long time, you know how the show is, and this is your show on your station. We're facilitating a conversation about the local news stories and issues that affect us, along with broader issues and news, and our views on that as well. And so we're trying to make sense of this kind of confusing and getting to be more confusing world that we live in, and trying to make some sense of it. Keep some sense of humanity in what seems like a kind of world that's slipping away from that in a lot of regards, in my point of view anyways, where I get to share a little bit of my views along with you sharing yours. Welcome to this edition of the show. June the 22nd, the day after summer solstice, first day of summer. It was a hot one yesterday in Greater Sudbury. I hope you were able to stay cool and enjoy it. We did not have a show yesterday. I had to make the executive decision. I had some training for work that started early, and if I was to have a show, I would have had to could have possibly had a speeding ticket trying to get to that training, and so I had to make the decision. So no, Dave is suggesting that he was asking me if I thought it might have been Facebook's doing, but no, that wasn't it. It wasn't some large conspiracy theory. It was just the fact that I didn't have the time. And so thank you for having the patience with this show that we're able to do that. And it is a volunteer show on a volunteer station. And we're all here of our own free will and choice every morning. And so the odd time we're not able to have a show due to whatever circumstances. So thank you very much for sticking with us and being here today. I'm looking forward to all of your comments on the issues and the news that is going on around us in our community and in our world today. I'll do my best to facilitate that discussion and get through as many stories as we can. Since we didn't have a show yesterday, there are a kind of a little bit of a backlog of news stories to talk about. And we're also, as I mentioned, on Facebook Live at facebook.com/Sudbury News, YouTube Live at youtube.com/Sudbury News. So if you're able to like, share, subscribe, follow, all of that stuff on our social medias, that would be much appreciated. The more we grow, the more potential we have to reach more people and have more of a conversation. So thank you for doing that. And this video in particular, if you're able to share it to those that you think may be interested in our conversation, that would be much appreciated as well. And so let's get right into it. We'll dive in with a little bit of weather. We'll be back with your comments and our news headlines right after this. And as usual, Sudbury Weather is brought to you by sudburyweather.ca. It basically just lands on our Sudbury.news website. And for any suggestions you have, we're open to that. I know more and more people have been in communication with us through Messenger or through email. We really appreciate it. And I think it's a way to keep a communication between us going, so that way the show could be as effective as possible. Now, speaking of effective, we have some really cool weather happening, and currently it's 19 degrees. That's a hot beginning to a day, and today we can expect sun. Hazy, though, because of some forest fires going on. The high will be 30, but it'll feel like 32 at the Humidex. Tonight will be clear, becoming partly cloudy overnight. Hazy early this evening, low of 16. And then Friday, a mix of sun and cloud, high of 29, Humidex 32. The UV index will be 9. Look at your long-range forecast. Again, mix of sun and cloud for tomorrow, high of 29. Then they're calling for a chance of showers on Saturday, 40% chance of showers, high of 28. Same thing with Sunday, but a high of 29. Monday, 60% chance of showers, high of 26. And then Tuesday, 70% chance of showers. So we have some showers in the forecast. And then looking like a break in that for Wednesday of next week with a high of 23 and a mix of sun and cloud. Look at your satellite. Currently, I see those clouds rolling in from the west, and but currently it is rather clear over northern Ontario. That's your weather, brought to you by SudburyWeather.ca. We'll be back with all the headlines, your comments, much, much more right after this. All right, so welcome back. Glad to have you with us. And looks like we getting a good bunch of people kind of joining on right now. Going to give a shout out to a lot of you joining us this morning. Judy, and again, feel free to comment, everyone. This is your show. This is a facilitated conversation here. Good morning, Judy. Hope you're having a great day. Monique as well. Good morning, everyone. David, as usual, stay safe. And Belinda, good morning. If you want to lift yourself up, lift up someone else. I love your sayings each and every morning. Look forward to them. Thanks, Belinda, for that. Danica, good morning, everyone from Cape Real. And I do know we have a lot of listeners and viewers joining us from Cape Real. The big arrests on Bruce Street Apartments, I heard on the news. The police responded to residents' complaints, making 27 arrests and even found some missing teens. Yeah, that was on the show on Tuesday. We talked about that story for sure. And it was, getting some things done there, which is a good sign. Shane, good morning. Thanks for being with us on this Thursday. I might have said Wednesday earlier. I might have said Wednesday because we didn't have a show yesterday. I apologize for that. I do make the odd mistake here live off the cuff. Good morning, Vin. Thanks for being with us, as well as Diane. Good morning, AJ, everyone as well, and Bon Matin. Thank you for that. And let's dive right into some of the stories that are making headlines in our community today, and maybe some more broader headlines as well. We'll see if we got time for a little deep dive today. There's so many things going on with bills being passed in our House of Commons, things going on at Queen's Park. We are working on a more national kind of branded show, and I think there's so many stories that it would take up so much time to have the local one and the national one, but it is in the works. We're hopefully going to pull the trigger on that sometime soon. Good morning from Chelmsford, y'all. That's Jerome. Thanks for checking in, Jerome, and thanks for the videos that you'd sent that we shared on the show the other day. Maybe we'll have more on that later. Heroic flagman may lose his leg. This is a story, something that happened 2 years ago. There was a flagman on a construction site in Hanmer, and there was a motorcyclist who was kind of doing some crazy stuff around, where they have the stop sign coming into the traffic, and struck the flagman, and he might lose his leg as a result of that. But there was a judge basically calling him a hero for standing there with the stop sign and doing his duty. And then unfortunately, somebody doing some crazy antics on a motorcycle, causing him to almost lose his leg. So very unfortunate there. Belinda's checking in here. All our lovely council members unanimously adopted a community climate change adoption plan. Let's see how far this goes to remove our carbon footprint. Buckle up. Yes, thanks, Belinda. Hopefully we'll have time to get to that that was the thing we're going to cover yesterday, and I think we will still have time to cover that today. Greater City of Sudbury released their ranked list of streets where they're planning to deploy automated speed enforcement cameras by September. So priority locations selected for automated speed trap cameras. Let's see, I think Sudbury.com this morning has a little bit on that. That story was from the Sudbury Star, but Sudbury.com also reporting on that. So automated speed trap cameras are still on the schedule to be installed throughout Greater Sudbury by September. And the city has narrowed in on a list of priority locations. The city is deploying 6 mobile automated speed enforcement cameras throughout the city on a 4-month cycle, meaning 18 locations are expected to be covered within a 1-year period. The Operations Committee meeting of City Council unanimously approved a list of priority locations during Monday's meeting and cleared staff to draft a bylaw to allow the cameras deployment in use. City Traffic and Asset Management Supervisor Joe Rocca clarified on Monday that the list of priority locations might not end up being where cameras are deployed in every case. There are many locations where it's physically impossible to install the mobile units, he said. So even though we have the list, which is brought to us by Sudbury.com, I said it was the Sudbury Star original story, but no, this was from the Sudbury.com to begin with. Let's see where this list of streets are so that way we may know. Bellevue Avenue between Picard Street and Ralph Street, Algonquin Road between Maurice Street and Field Street, Falconbridge Road between Donnelly and Church, Main Street, Valcarron between Justin and MR80, Bancroft between Kingsway and Bellevue, Valley View Road, so there's a couple here in Valcarron coming up, Valley View Road between Evans and Fournier Drive, Hillcrest Drive between Bryan and Mikola Road in Lively, MR80, McRae Heights between Robin Avenue and Hubert Street. Wow, there's lots in the valley. Okay, Garson, Coniston Road between Mackay and Falconbridge, Howie Drive between Downing and Somerset, Hawthorne between Westmount and Patrick, Notre Dame in a street in Azilda between Leo and Rayside, Loaches Road, Countryside, Gary, Bancroft, Moonlight, Cote Boulevard again in Valcarron, Kelly Lake Road, 2nd Avenue, Long Lake Road. Oh my goodness, the streets in their order, they have 45 proposed streets. They can only do 18 at a time, apparently, and they'll be fluctuating them throughout the city. So I guess you can say you definitely do not want to go through a red light or you'll be slapped with an almost $360 ticket, which arrives in the mail 2 days after you have the offense. Not that I would know through experience. Belinda, more surveillance. Yeah, that gives them the capability. Very clear picture of your license plate, by the way, as well. Comes with that ticket. Calgary, this is Miles, has automated speed cameras for the last few years. No one speeds there. As we drove there last year when we were visiting, or at least we never observed anyone speeding. So yeah, very effective, as you stated on previous shows as well. The cameras in Calgary, Finn, are citations opened for human discretion or automated? I believe they're automated. Hence the 2 days after the violation, you get it in snail mail. So you commit the offense and 2 days later via snail mail, it's in your mail. So I think it's immediate. I think it snaps the picture. Something's printed off at Tom Davies Square and immediately put into the mail. Very automated as far as I'm, not that I would know through experience again, right? But Denise says a lot of road construction in Espanola, as well as the back road to Massey to Massey on the valley. What is it coast to coast? All roads are tied up? Yeah, lots of construction going on for sure. It's important to note that the locations listed may not be the locations that are used. $1 million of cameras, for sure. So, like the person Joe Rocca said from the city, that some of the locations they actually might not be able to be installed on. Also, speeding is out of control everywhere. Yeah, for sure. I do notice that as well. Jerome says, until social credit, no more snail mail. That's right. Snail mail will probably be going the way of the dodo, considering all of the electronic resources that everybody is kind of, I would say, being forced to go to now. You almost don't have a choice. It's all electronic. And you can make the argument that it's greener, for one thing. It is an argument, by the way, because a lot of arguments could be made that all these servers and electricity needed in order to make sure all of this system in place, arguments could be made whether it's greener or not. But it is what it is. We are going that way no matter what. I don't think anyone has a choice. However, the story is about the cameras going up in the city, and you will never know which particular intersection has these cameras. So you'll just have to, as Miles said, and as has happened in Calgary, just slow down and leave a little bit earlier. Town hall meetings that the mayor attended denied all of these climate change agenda things towards reducing our carbon footprint down to net zero. They got smart and they started screening the questions before the meeting even started. Yeah, there was a comment on that when we shared a lady's point of views from the Timmins Town Hall meeting on the opioid and homeless crisis and the housing crisis. And someone said, yeah, well, in Sudbury, they don't just allow you to step up to the mic and share your point of view or give a question off the cuff. They have to screen them ahead of time. We never really had any kind of choice. That's from Jerome. And Denise says, good morning, everyone. Stay safe and healthy. So joining us is Denise. Good morning, Denise. Hope you're having a great morning. We've just been talking about the new cameras that are going to be installed in the city to help keep speeds down to as minimum as possible. Now, will that help violent crimes? We don't know. It might help some of the people being hit downtown, as we've seen a rise in that in recent years. Denise says, like the smart hydrometers, that got us up to $1,000 a month for bills. Anything smart is a trap. Yeah, I remember back in the day, you could actually choose not to get those smart meters, or once they were installed, you could actually get them to come back and install an old school one. I don't know if there was only a short window of time for that or not, but I remember back in the day that was the case. Good morning, Claire. Thanks for joining us. Hope you're having a great Thursday, as long as I keep my days straight here. Next headline, violent offenses jumped by 5.3% in Greater Sudbury last year. Who knew? Who would have thought that would be the case? Coming from our good friend Tyler Clark from Sudbury.com. Again, his story here. Violent offenses jumped by 5.3%. Greater Sudbury Police recorded 145 incident jump in violent offenses last year and 499 incident decrease in property offenses, yielding a net 1% drop in criminal offenses in 2022. Okay, so we got 145 incident jump in violent offenses and a 499 incident decrease in property offenses. So if you're an analyst, a data analyst, that's interesting, right? To unpack that data. A couple comments coming in here, Vince. Yep, Mayor did that in Onaping as well with about screening, but followed up with a "we're all in this together" red flag quote to me. It's Thursday. Yes, Jerome, it is Thursday. I've been saying Wednesday. I don't know why. It's because we didn't have a show yesterday, but sorry about that. Denise, with prices. Oh, is it Thursday? Yeah, it's Thursday. Yeah, for sure. And I had to give my head a check again. With prices going up and no luck finding a home, people are getting desperate, for sure. I think there's a lot here. The number of violent offenses increased by 5.3%, yet the property crime incidents dropped by 9.3%. But you see how the headline, right? The headline wasn't crime drops by 9.3%. And either way, you have leeway as a reporter in news to give whatever the heck headline you want to have, whatever you want to highlight, whatever you want to put an exclamation point on, whatever you want to underline. You have discrepancy to do that, right? And so Tyler's taken the discrepancy for whatever reason at this point to highlight the rise in violent crime, and I probably would do the same. But there could be two headlines, or a headline that says rise in violent crime, however, drop in property crime. The overall number of criminal offenses reported to Greater Sudbury Police last year was 9,595, which was a slight decrease from the 9,692 reported in 2021 last year. Also signaled the third year in a row the total number of criminal offenses decreased since the latest peak of 10,531 recorded in 2019. So Chief Paul Pedersen offered the city's police board a rundown of the 2022 crime statistics during Wednesday's meeting, at which he clarified there's no lack of nuance to the numbers. It's comforting to the community that crime is slightly down, which is a nice thing, he said. That said, that doesn't tell the whole picture. Most concerning to the general public will be the jump in violent crime, he clarified. Well, and that's for sure. Violent crime is that headline grabbing, quite honestly, very frightening activities that's going on in our community. These are the complicated offenses that take a lot of time to investigate, take a toll on our members, and increase fear in our community. When it comes to the community's sense of fear, Pedersen later clarified that the majority of violent incidents, involve victims and offenders known to each other. So there's not a lot of danger to strangers. That said, he noted there has been an increase in violence related to guns, gangs, and drugs in the community. We are very aware of that. They may be known to each other, but that's still a threat to our community. There were 12 homicides recorded in Greater Sudbury in 2022, which was the highest number for any year on record. And that's from Statistics Canada, provided information going back to 1981. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say there probably wasn't higher homicide rates before that year either. Although the overall Greater Sudbury Police Service clearance rate was 41.3% in 2022, a slight increase from 40% in 2021. Their clearance rate of violent offenses was 66.4%, the same as in 2021. Clearance rate of property offenses was 16.2%. So a clearance rate represents the percentage of crimes for which an arrest was made. Okay, so more statistics there. Some other notable statistics that came out. There were 58,117 calls for service from Greater Sudbury Police. 83% of those were not criminal in nature. Impaired driving offenses totaled 271, which is a decrease of 17, almost 18% from 2021. 17.5% decrease in mischief. A 15.4% decrease in arson. And there were 673 break-and enters recorded in 2022, which was a 19.6% decrease. So again, like you look at these numbers, if you're a number person, they do tell us something. You have to read all the numbers, though. You can't just read headlines. Although just reading that headline alone, violent crime is up 5-6%. It is what it is. And then you look at the other numbers. Can you make anything out of the numbers? Like what's causing it? Is there a rise? There's a decrease in a lot of them. So if you were to say, our economy is struggling, that's why there's people more desperate and they're breaking into places. Well, home invasions were down. So maybe if you're really strung out on something, you don't really even have the wherewithal to go break in a house. I don't know, because we do have an opioid crisis. The worst in Ontario, second worst in Canada, I hear. So maybe that's part of the reason. I don't know. I'm just speculating. I have no idea why violent crimes would be up, but home invasions and property crimes would be down. See, on the 2,056 theft under 5,000 incidents recorded, there was an increase of 0.5% from the previous year. Theft of a motor vehicle jumped by 8%, 20 cases. Sexual assaults were up by almost 2%, and there were almost 1,500 assaults reported, of which 88 incidents, it was an increase of 88 incidents from 2021, right? So all the numbers are there. You want to check out the story, it's on Sudbury.com. And let's get back to some of your comments here. There were many throughout this. How many police did this council members pass? Okay, how many policies did this council members pass without the knowledge of the people of the city? Possibly. David says crime in downtown, way down. No numbers on sexual assaults or arson, just percentages. I wonder why. Exactly. Next year, headline will be jailbreaks up by 100%. Thanks for that, David. It's definitely comical. Sad at the same time, but comical nonetheless as well. A whole bunch here not afraid of anything, including Greater Sudbury Police and Puppet Council. That's from Jerome. Belinda and Trudeau wants to take our guns. That is true. There's no doubt about it. The numbers are also being compared between years with COVID. That is true. I thought of that as well. Little movement and lots of people flush with government cash and then suddenly back to normal and cash flows stop. Very difficult to compare. Very insightful, Stephen. Thank you very much. That is 100% true. Yeah, if you were to just give everybody, a bunch of money, the break-ins definitely would go down, because why would you need to break in somewhere if you got tons of cash, right? So let's check in here. We got how come the story's so far down? We'll have to kind of check back into it, because it was a good segue from David talking about the breakout of jail. And there's a story from CTV here talking about that, basically. We'll be back right after this. We'll unpack it. This is from 2 days ago, however, so it's not fresh because we didn't have a show yesterday.
It was around the dinner hour on Saturday when Greater Sudbury Police Service was notified that an inmate at the Sudbury jail might have escaped. It was a man accused of 3 murders and described by police as a dangerous person to be free in the community.
Someone acquainted to Mr. Roy was the first source of information that alerted us to the possibility of his escape, and it was then that led us to contacting the district jail, at which point it was confirmed that in fact he was not accounted for.
33-year-old Joel Roy is accused of 2 murders at Sudbury's Travelodge Hotel and also accused in the death of a Southern Ontario man discovered in the Wanapitei area. Police launched an extensive search, drawing upon tips from the public, which officers say was critical in this investigation. Eventually, investigators were led to a residence in the Gatchell area.
We sent resources to that area and set up containment on the address. At which point our tactical unit gained entry into the residence and successfully took Mr. Roy into custody without incident.
Specifics regarding how Roy escaped are unknown at this time, and police say they are working with the officials at the Sudbury jail and the province to find answers. Police say they did arrest 1 other person in connection to the incident.
We have made an arrest of one 37-year-old man in our community who we know did offer some form of assistance to Mr. Roy after he'd escaped from the jail.
In an email to CTV News, the Ministry of the Solicitor General says it has launched an internal investigation into the matter and is not able to comment. Amanda Hicks, CTV News, Sudbury.
So that's from Amanda Hicks, CTV News here in Sudbury. Great reporting, Amanda. And we're doing our best to support local news and get the stories that you work so hard to create out to as many people as possible, including people who don't have cable and don't watch the news on a regular basis on television. And then we're able to talk about it here on the show as well and give it a little bit more, take it to another level possibly. So there's an investigation going on as to why this particular incident happened, where somebody charged of 3 murders here in Sudbury was able to get away. You don't hear of too many jailbreaks in Sudbury, at least I don't. And this is a particularly concerning one because of what the suspect was accused of, I would think. If he was accused of breaking into somebody's house, I don't think that would have alarmed people to the extent that it could have or did. And so why wasn't a person with that type of charge or those charges, treated with a little bit more security? And how does this happen? You know what I mean? Like, you wouldn't just think, whoever was involved here would allow something like that to happen. I don't know. So investigation, let's see if we'll hear more on that. We should. We got to keep on top of it. I think something that happens here in the city more times than not, we get a story and the follow-up isn't the greatest. And so I guess I made a mental note with a few things I need to follow up on, and that's following Dominic Giroux's career, continuing to do that and continuing to keep that particular story alive as to the impact that particular individual could have possibly made on our university here in Sudbury, and then possibly later our hospital and our community in general. And should there be accountabilities, at least for whatever I can do to keep a story alive, I'd like to continue to follow up on that. The individual who was found in his car, left there for 3 months, possibly in the HSN parking lot, and what the heck happened there? There needs to be a lot of follow-up. I remember back there was a particular person who was shot and dropped off at HSN, and the person was caught on camera who dropped him off. There wasn't too much follow-up on that particular story. The breach, I guess there's a theme going on here. The medical school was, there was a cyber attack there, and we were told that we would get more information on that as soon as they knew why. And I look at the news every single day because I have to, and I don't remember anything coming out from that. Like, what was the reason for the cyber attack a few weeks ago for the School of Medicine? I'll have to follow up on that. So there's a lot of follow-up stories. So I hope this one doesn't just keep, just going, and then you eventually don't get the story. If they're doing an investigation, let's find out what the heck happened, because this has implementations of a lot of things, right? And a lot of the things I just mentioned that need follow-up. And there's other stories as well. They're just not top of mind at the moment. So Dave says, who can you call to report a jailbreak? Call the first to have then put in a missing person report? Yeah, exactly. We have a hospital, Jerome says. So Dave, again, if you're following up on stuff, maybe the golf course not paying taxes for years would be good, and still paying taxes. So I don't know exactly what you mean by the end there. So following up on stuff, paying, maybe the golf course not paying taxes for years would be good. Yeah, for sure. And yeah, so if the golf course isn't paying taxes, we would need to follow up on that. Why aren't they? Is that because they have special treatment because it's drawing people, it's creating business that, other businesses can't do, and there's some kind of deal? I have no idea. So I'll have to look into that for sure, Dave. Thank you very much. and which golf course are you referring to, because there are several in the community. The media whitewashes these people with such accolades when, in essence, they need to be held accountable. Yeah, we find that more times than not. And speaking of the media, remember the shootings that just took place on in Wiki on the island of Wikwemkwang? The chief issued a statement that we had previously shared the other day. Let's see here. So much scrolling. So little time. So a Toronto man charged with Manitoulin Island murders. A 19-year-old Toronto man is in custody and charged with the murder and drug trafficking after a shooting left 2 dead and 1 injured. So they sent out a press release shortly after, kind of slapping the hands of the media. And Wikwemkwang leadership continues to work with police on the investigation into the overnight incident in Wikwemkwang. We ask all community members to please refer to Wikwemkwang's official social media pages for information and updates. We are aware that media is sending out information that has been erroneous and misleading. We are also advising media not to come to community to seek images or information. I'm also asking community members as well not to speak to media and not to post any images on social media related to the incident, as this might impede the investigation. All updates on the situation will be authorized for release by Wikwemkwang only, in coordination with the tribal police and Ontario provincial police. Miigwech, thank you for understanding and cooperating. So that's from from Rachel Manitwabi, who is the chief there. So I thought that was interesting that they're asking the media not to cover the story, that they will give us the information we need. So on many levels, that's interesting. I saw their social media, and there was a lot of people blaming the Manitoulin expositor of sensationalizing the incident. So that's the one thing that I know. Misinformation, I don't know what misinformation was put out. All that I knew is that there were 2 murders and another person injured, and that they had someone in custody. I don't know anything over and above that, but maybe there were specific details that were given that were misleading. But the chief then went on social media and then issued a statement. Video. She did a live video. So for that, you can go on Wikwemkwang's official Facebook page and you can check out that video that she released, basically reiterating that press release that I just read. So she just kind of unpacks that a little bit more, but no other real details other than what I just read. Thanks, Stephen, for letting us know it was the Idlewild. We'll have to look into that for sure. Next time you have a counselor on, perfect. You can ask why the golf courses aren't paying taxes and why. Great question. And when the next time we have a counselor on, you can ask that very question. I'll see if I'm able to remember to do that. But again, as we check in with your questions, that's the great thing about having the counselors on, is to have yourselves question as well. At the beginning of the show, though, I do give the disclaimer that I may not get to all the questions. And I hope you know me enough to know that I wouldn't be filtering politically incorrect questions or whatever as I'm going. It would just be because either we don't have enough time or it's totally off the subject and we're kind of on a roll with something else. But yeah, let's make sure we get that question to them. Great question to start off with our next interview with either Mike or Natalie or any of the other counselors, who are all welcome, by the way, to be on the show. Denise says, I disagree. The more information people share, the faster they'll get the predator. Everyone's eyes need to be open and start saying no to stupid things. Thanks for that, Denise. Jerome says, I guess Dave is referring to the one next to the parking lot where an individual found dead in a vehicle. Yeah, that would be HSN. I'm laughing. I'm not laughing at somebody deceased. Please know that. I'm laughing at the humor found in the context of your comment to Dave. Yes, it is Idlewild, which is next to HSN. It's never good when there's only one narrative. Why are they trying so hard to suppress any other points of view? Not sure. Yeah, it was a bit interesting to see that, they were saying someone who I would think knows about oppression and knows about one narrative and knows about, the lack of transparency. You would think they would want the more transparency, the better kind of thing. I would think. And I was kind of surprised by the chief's message from Wiki about, stay away and don't investigate, don't help our investigation. You think it would be more open to media to be able to do that. And their partners right there on Manitoulin Island, the media there. So you'd think they would have an open relationship with the media, but it looks like it may be strained to some degree. And I'm not sure exactly what was said that the chief took exception to. I have no idea, but they don't want the media there, that's for sure, especially in this regard. They feel it might be impeding the investigation to some degree. When this is done, in my opinion, it looks like they're trying to protect the perpetrator. Correct. Whether that's true or not, the optics could look like that for sure. Whose child is this that they say they're trying to protect? Correct. Yeah. Like there's so many questions, right? To this, we're not sure. So now we might get to this headline, and I'm sure this will carry us on to the end of our show. City adopts community climate change adaptation plan. This is from Sudbury.com. I'm sure it's our good friend Tyler reporting on this because it's political in nature. City Council unanimously adopted a community climate change adaptation plan during last week's meeting, which will join the existing community energy and emissions plan in this city's climate change plan. I'm sure I already had it open, but Tyler Clark is reporting from Sudbury.com. City Council unanimously adopted this. So let's see. Securing a more complete breadth of climate change response. Greater Sudbury's elected officials adopted a community climate change adaptation plan. So that's the CCCAP. That doesn't sound like anything we've heard before. I'm thinking of the CCP, but anyways, it's because it's CCCAP. Everything needs an acronym. It would be CAP if you want to say it. Last week, the plan joins the Community Energy and Emissions, the KEEP, or if you add an R in there somehow, the CREEP, the CEEP, to provide a set of guiding documents of climate action for the City of Greater Sudbury. City Climate Change Coordinator Jennifer Babin-Fensky explained. Whereas the CEEP centers on mitigative measures for Greater Sudbury to do their part, prevent climate change, such as achieving net zero emissions by 2050. The CCCAP centers on adaptation, or managing the unavoidable. Adaptation is trying to prepare for what's happening. Adaptation and becoming more resilient, planning for floods, droughts, power outages, for example, she said. Joining the effort is the City Council's decision last week to create a climate resistance contract position to lead the implementation of both the CEEP and the CCCAP. They forgot a C there, I think. This effort moves forward on a campaign pledge Mayor Paul Lefebvre made during last year's campaign to have the city set achievable targets along the path to becoming net zero by 2050. So that was a campaign promise that the city will be net zero by 2050. I wonder if that means people will be allowed to still be here, because we are definitely made of mostly carbon. So let's hope that we're still in the plan. The intent, he explained on election night 2022, was to set goals that are attainable in short term along the path toward the ultimate goal, so the city can better benchmark their progress. During last week's meeting, Lefebvre called the CCCAP and the creation of a climate change resistance contract position as a great step forward. Per an amendment, Ward 9 Councillor Deb McIntosh, the new position will be paid for by existing funds this year, with subsequent years' funding to be debated in the 24-25 budget talks. As for adapting to the changing climate, the CCCAP, now formally adopted, will factor into various decisions of council across all departments, just as the CEEP presently does. In every report to City Council, a section highlighting environmental impacts falls under the heading Relationship to the Strategic Plan, Health Impact Assessment and Community Energy and Emissions Plan, CEEP. As a result of their adoption of the CCCAP, climate change adaptive measures will now also be included. Adapting, Babin Fensky explained, is preparing, planning, providing options, and continuously adjusting to become more resilient. McIntosh flagged this year's spring flooding as an example of something that could have been proactively addressed under the CCCAP. There's nothing we can do about it now, but we could have not let them build 20 years ago in that area, she said. Another example is the emerald ash borer, Councillor 8 Al Sizer said, referencing the invasive species detected in southern Ontario several years ago that has been recently wreaking havoc on Greater Sudbury's ash tree population. It will impact virtually every ash tree in our urban forest, City Growth and Infrastructure Manager Troy Security said, adding that the staff members are currently putting a report together to present to City Council on the matter. Security noted that although the CCCAP further formalizes the city's prioritization of climate change adaptation measures, staff, I'm reading this stuff and I'm shaking my head a bit, because I'm just thinking of reality as I'm reading this. Okay, how does this work in reality? And then there's a disconnect there. But anyways, it's great to put in these measures to stop a housing unit complex 20 years ago, knowing that how climate change is going to affect us 20 years in the future. How does that look in reality? So what are we going to stop that could be happening 20 years in our future now? What are we going to stop going on in our community now that we know is going to happen 20 years in the future? Let's get right to that. Now, about this invasive species and all these things, stopping them before they happen in the future, I guess this includes a time machine, I'm hoping. Security noted that also, although the CCCAP further formalizes the city's prioritization of climate change adaptation measures, city staff has already held it as a priority following the city council's direction. So we've already been doing this anyways. It's just kind of now known in a paper. During last week's presentation, Babin Fensky, sorry about the pronunciation if I have that wrong, highlighted the very real threat of climate change by citing historical temperature data. And the historical temperature data you got, where did you get that from? Because I just cited some historical temperature data on the show as well that shows possibly we are not in a climate crisis. So from leading scientists, one a co-creator of Greenpeace, for example. Yeah. So, but we were citing some temperature data from somewhere, which is good to know. From 1950 to 1980, there were an average of 3 days per year in which the temperature exceeded 32 degrees. Between 1981 and in 2014, an average 5.2 days with a maximum of 11 recorded in 2013. Now, one of the speculations of that is that we used to take our climate from a certain place, and now we take it from airports, which are mostly concrete and asphalt, which in and of itself raises the temperature, right? So let's just take that into account alone, and now these numbers don't make any sense. That alone could have raised the temperature that many degrees. But because of that, we're going to adopt a cap in Greater Sudbury, and we're going to go ahead with it no matter what. And it was unanimously voted on that we're going to do this. Drawing upon climate information from climateatlas.ca, so that's where they got the information from, she noted the date of the last spring frost is anticipated to arrive earlier and mean annual precipitation and it's anticipated to increase. It's anticipated to arrive earlier and the mean annual precipitation is anticipated to increase. According to her presentation to City Council, climate change impacts could include such things as health impacts, wildfires, pest and disease epidemics, lakes having more ice-free days, extreme weather, storms, flooding, power outages, impacts on food production, and impacts on economic sectors. The city's cap was developed by the city staff and a number of First Nation and community stakeholders who are engaged and collectively identify key vulnerabilities in our region related to climate change impacts, according to the document. So yeah, for more on this information, or more information on this particular topic, you can visit Sudbury.com and their story on it. Well, I guess I kind of just showed some other sides of the debate, I guess you can say, but the debate is over. Science agrees, right? All scientists agree that this information is exactly what they're saying. So apparently all scientists don't agree, and I will continue to show these scientists on this show, and you can for yourself, which I think you shouldn't be allowed to do. I guess a lot of people don't want you to keep the debate open, where we're getting this information from, where the numbers are coming from, who's crunching the data, what does it tell us? Is the debate over in your mind? Should we be going ahead and making these policies and what do you think about all this stuff? Anyways, that's all the time we got for this show. Unfortunately, thanks for being with us. Thursday, June the 22nd, day after the summer solstice, longest day in the year. And now from here on in until December 21st, the days will start to get shorter. So even though it's still going to be summer for the next little bit, the days are going to start to get shorter here in Greater Sudbury. So hope that's not too much of a downer for everybody. There's still a lot of summer remaining. And thanks for being with us today. Thanks for commenting. Thanks for all of your input into the show. It wouldn't be here without you. Stay tuned now for Earshot Daily on CKLU 96.7 FM. We'll be back, God willing, same time, same place tomorrow. Thanks, everyone, for being with us. And Vin, you got the last comment of the day up on the screen. Okay, make sure to share, take care, and ciao.
This is Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.